So, tonight I was looking at the stars and I couldn't help but notice how a certain constellation, I'm not sure which one it is, but I couldn't help but notice it looked like a butterfly. And that started me thinking about the changes, all the changes that I have been going through, people around me have been going through, and so on and so forth. And I am a big believer that the sky is a map and a compass together of sorts. And it kind of points us in a direction if you study astrology and all that jazz. It's just kind of uncanny how accurate some of that stuff is. And I think it was designed that way. So I'm looking at this butterfly and I'm thinking of the grand design of things. And I had a great day. And I got some food for thought and some soul food. And it was a change. I have been severely depressed lately. And this has a huge impact on me socially, physically some days, and definitely emotionally and mentally. And it impacts the people around me too. And I try to keep that in mind. It's hard some days. I tend to be a slightly selfish person, and I'm working on that. It's a daily thing. And that's a change even for me. It feels selfish to say I'm working on me, but I'm working on me selfishly so I can be kinder to you. Is kind of how I look at that. So it's okay to be selfish in that manner. But the changes I have been through on this journey I'm on in this life, I have agreed to attempt to make it quality. Quantity, I don't really care about, whatever. I could die right now and I'd be okay with it. I've done the best I could up to this point. So, I know, leave it to me to bring death into just about any subject. So, anyways, so I'm thinking about that and changes, and that's a permanent one. So far, as far as we know, it's to be continued. It's inconclusive. Who knows what happens? But for now, we'll say it's a big change. I think we can agree on that one. And so butterflies represent transformation and change. And the death card in the tarot deck represents transformations and change. Yes, it can mean straight up the end of something. And sometimes those are really horrible endings are. And I believe that that's because we attach, love, whatever, other feelings we might have in relation to what's ending. I don't believe you can ever lose love. And most of the time, if we're really honest, when we let go of people and things, it's not ever a lack of love. It's more of a, I love this more. And that's okay. I'm learning that with transformation and change, it's okay to say, I love this more. I love this concept, this mentality. I find I have a lot of endings when it comes to, beliefs I grew up with and was raised with. The more I learn about myself, even, and how I interact in my world with my fellows. Um, and that has led me to many, many deaths, most of them metaphorical, some of them not so much. So I'm looking at the stars, and it's a map, and it's a compass, and I'm thinking about this butterfly I'm seeing in front of me, and how cool that is, and how grateful I am to have looked up. Uh, you know, I'm supposed to be watching where I'm going. I'm kind of clumsy. So, a chance in it. It's snowy here. It's cold. And the sky is so crisp, is a really good word for it. It's sharp. It's electric. It was bright and shiny. And the moon's full, so it's nice and light out. And it makes, this January Michigan night not so bad. So I'm looking at this butterfly. I'm thinking about these changes and these transformations and everything I've been through and the things I've learned last few years. Been like running a gauntlet. And I'm grateful for it. That's something I've learned, is to be grateful for that. It hurt. It hurt a lot, some of these changes and transformations. And I used to get mad about the hurt. I used to get scared about the hurt because it hurt. And it hurt to let mentalities go, people go. It's never a lack of love. It's always with love, but it negates everything I just said. It's always with love, period. But nonetheless, I love this more. So, thinking about all these transformations and these little deaths and all this love. All I'm currently hearing is time to face the changes. Maybe that's what it is. It's time to face all the changes. It's time to let go of some things. I suppose that's kind of the point. I mean, you can't carry it all with you. I hear some things can fit through the eye of a needle. I hear other things can't. And it hurts to let go. I used to have this mentality that was because, I don't love that thing anymore. I don't like that thing anymore. And it's gone forever. Well, those are very generalized statements, and they're very set in stone statements, and very inaccurate statements. Because there are cycles. Pay attention. You'll see it in your life, you'll see it out in nature, you'll see it in humans, in society, in civilizations. There's these cycles, and you too will cycle through, but it requires change. Now, it took me a minute to learn how to know when a change is needed. sometimes they are divinely guided changes in my life, I believe. And I have absolutely everything to do with it in the sense that, like, what I'm doing is not working and there's a better way. Because I am fiercely and wonderfully created. I insist that I know the way. I have no clue what the way is. So I just, get this ego going, thinks I know, and I can't make planets spin. I can't make stars look like butterflies. So I humble my little self in the grand scheme of things, my tiny little self, but also my magnanimous, daunting self, and say, all right, I'm ready. Let the change begin. And I'm a hopeless romantic. I romanticize lots of things. So I'm waiting for like this grand, I don't know, wind to blow, some trees whisper their wisdom from wherever they get their wisdom from. And I giggle and go visit my father. I go say hi. And I'm very aware during this conversation, this interaction, how I have no control over any of it. I can only be aware. Now, being aware for me is very difficult because I am self-centered. So, my inner space tends to fill up with moi. So I'm practicing this year, interacting with everybody like I would God. Well, as I understand God, my higher power. And so I'm trying to converse and in my head maintain awareness to what they're saying. Some advice I asked, how do you remember what people say? Like, how do you listen? Like, I know you need to listen, you need to pay attention and be focused. How do you do this? And this person was like, well, you care, but you don't really care. And the parts that are supposed to stay, stay. And I'm like, thanks, bro. Real helpful. So I'm in this moment interacting with my father. And I'm like aware, hyper aware of me, of him, the room. I'm a Leo, a bit of a drama queen, so I'm like hyper aware of everything and all the things. And I'm just realizing I have no control over it, even me and my awareness. And I'm smiling because somehow the conversation went from the day that we had to real estate prices to him cracking jokes about calling the church on me because I have thoughts and opinions. All that shit used to bug me. Now I just laugh at it. It's like internally, I'm feeling this radiation, and now a few days ago, this radiation is like, it's not bad. It's like good. It's here. And I'm getting warm and like I'm just hyper vigilant of all the things. So I'm getting warm and I'm thinking about how a few days ago this warmth, this sensation had been in the pit of my belly. And I've been laying on the floor crying, as one does when they are struggling to get a different perspective, you know. So I have this pit in my belly, and I'm just like, please help me end my suffering. What that means these days, it's not quite what it meant, you know, in the ye old days. So I'm laying there on the floor, getting a new perspective, getting frustrated. And I'm starting to feel despair creeping in and hopelessness. And I get this random visit I had no control over from one of my closest friends. And it was great, and it was pleasant, and it was awesome. And I'm thinking about this and this interaction. And it's weird. If I could explain how my mind works, it's a lot all at once. And it spirals in on itself like fractals, and it's hard to focus sometimes. So I'm interacting with my dad, and I'm noticing there's no control in any of it. And I'm giggling because I'm feeling this warmth in my chest. And for the last 3 weeks, like I said, I've been depressed. And I've been trying to be like, where is the sun? I believe we all have this internal light inside of us. And I've been just trying my best. And it's been glazed over with thick depression. And at one point, I was just crying and saying how unfair everything felt. It felt very unfair. I was having a very good pity party, and I had no control over. I had control over that. I chose to not have control over that in that moment. I chose differently, I guess. So I was thinking about how today my heart space is glowing and feels like nice warm sun, and it's radiating this warmth, and I'm just kicking back and watching half of my genetics sit here and just be himself. And I'm like, yesterday morning, him and I were arguing. I don't even remember. But it ended up me being like, you ain't right in yourself, and you need to go fix that. And who am I to say that to somebody? So, you know, especially my father. I had apologized, by the way, because I was like, that was a little, for my own value system, that was a bit disrespectful, and that's not how I want to interact with my father, nor God. So I'm like, all right, looking at this whole thing, and how everything for the last few weeks has led up to this moment. But today it's been a bunch of moments layered on top of a bunch of moments. A bunch of butterflies. And sometimes you just gotta lay on the floor and cry. You gotta stare at the ceiling. And just face the changes. Yeah. It's fun. Love ya.